Take one.
Hey there everybody, I hope you're all doing great. Today on StarCast, we're going to be talking about the new short film that we did for the Detroit 48-Hour Film Challenge. Joined here with me, I have my co-host, Marguerite Wazinski.
Hey guys.
And we have returning guest, Paul Matthew Chittenden, who came out and very graciously helped us edit for the project that we did.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, so this is going to be a really fun one to kind of film today because we just went through it for the first time kind of leading it, and I believe Paul has done it before, so I'm really interested to see what everyone has to say about our experience as a whole. Just to preface this, I guess I kind of want to toot our own horn. We did win 4th overall, so congratulations all around on that. Yes, that was really great. And leading into that, I feel like a lot of things that could have gone wrong didn't, but a lot of things that maybe shouldn't have gone wrong did go wrong. I thought personally we did a pretty good job making it not a total disaster. I guess not a total disaster. I guess I wanted to open the floor for Paul or Andrew to kind of lead us off on what you think that we did do right overall and what you think that we definitely could do right or better next time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we really had a collaborative spirit, which I really appreciated, and that we facilitated that well with our group in the writer's room. We gave everybody a chance to say their piece. So, and I think that helps overall, create a better idea because everyone's, the best of everyone's ideas are getting implemented, but also everyone gets a sense of pride in their work because it's not someone else's idea that they're helping shape. It's a part of theirs, it's a part of everyone. So everyone has skin in the game, which motivates everyone to continue working and putting their best foot forward, not feeling like they're doing it for someone else. So I think that's the biggest positive out of that collaborative spirit that we got.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, I'm glad you said something about in the writer's room, because I personally really liked what we did Friday night. So our strategy kind of going into it was, okay, let's put it all out there, script and everything, story-wise, focus that Friday night. And we didn't do any filming on Friday night. Some people get right into it. We didn't. We chose to kind of take a different approach to it, make sure we had a pretty strong foundation as possible going into Saturday. And so I want to go into a little bit more about the Friday, because especially that part, because I remember I did that a couple years ago with a team, and it was super successful. It was kind of exactly like you said. It was like a brainstorming session. We invited people, anyone who wanted to be a part of it could come to the brainstorming session. It wasn't required on our team, but a lot of people ended up coming, and I feel like, I don't know, what do you guys think made it so successful? Because I feel like it quickly, with that, the phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen, but it never really felt like that. But what do you think made it go so well as opposed to go up in flames so terribly? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I would actually credit you for that, being a director and kind of guiding the process and being in the lead. I think what you did successfully was leading the conversation. So it wasn't this madness of everyone kind of overriding each other and all these opinions and stuff, but there was some facilitation where it's okay, if you have something you want to say and add on, let's raise your hand. Let's give everybody a chance to speak, and even those who may be a little bit more reserved. And I think that's key for getting that good collaborative discussion going, is not just to have it all, everyone just start saying things in no organization. It was the organization of letting people speak, combining those ideas, and then acknowledging what ideas we want to move forward with and what others might not be the best fit for the concept that we're going through, and actually exploring why or why not just shutting people down that's a stupid idea, but okay, let's take this idea. Does it work? Why or why not? And actually, so I don't think anyone would feel like offended because their idea was taken into consideration and not just immediately shut down. And then they have a chance to understand why it might not be a good fit and be like, oh, okay, yeah, it sounded good in my head at first, but after just talking it through, I see why that might not work in this case.
I very much agree with Paul's sentiments, especially about the organization of the conversation. Marguerite, you had that very well organized.
Thank you.
Just how much we all had mutual respect for each other. And like you were saying, Paul, we weren't shutting each other down. Everyone's voice was taken, and it was really just the best idea won. I think we did a wonderful job of it not being argumentative. I don't remember a moment where it didn't just feel wonderfully collaborative between us. And
thank you. Yeah, so I guess that's good feedback for me even, because that was kind of something that I was hoping that it did come off like we were honoring everyone's opinions and kind of saying, not that it was bad, but that it didn't fit the project, because that's definitely something that I always try to do. And I know Andrew is big on that too. No idea is a bad idea. However, there are some ideas that might be too big or for the project at hand. I know that some of us kind of have like a bubble theory, or like, hey, maybe that's a bubble idea, or hey, maybe that's a Pokemon idea, referring to our beloved Pokemon short we once made, meaning something that might be too big of an idea at the time that won't be manageable. And especially at the 48, you definitely need ideas that are going to be manageable within 48 hours. From my perspective, also, I want to give credit to you, Paul, Andrew, and everyone who is in the room, because the team you pick, from my point of view, is just as important, if not more important, than the person facilitating it. I think that I can speak for us, all of us here, very, very safely in saying that we had an incredible team of people who like to be collaborative, and not one person wanted to take it all off for themselves, and not one person wanted to make it all about them and their project. I think that matters just as much. You know, leadership reflects the people you pick and vice versa. So I think that's just as equally as important as a team you pick, not just people who are skilled at what they do and talented, but people who actually care about the team, from my perspective.
Yeah, I think everyone on our team was very humble, very creative, but very humble. And that was, I would agree, a very key point, because even if you have a good leader, a good facilitator, if you've got that one person that's just like, I'm the only person with a good idea, you guys all suck, or this is my project, let me lead. And when you're having to bash with that type of person, it can be stressful for everybody. But I think the team was so well curated that we didn't have that dominating personality. Right. Yeah, I agree.
If we could do something better on the first night, I would say I probably would have been shot listing while we were scripting, and not just kind of multitask with that, like be typing shots into my phone as we were going.
I think it was good that we just dedicated a day for it. And, you know, as you guys were talking about, not starting to shoot or anything, having that like separation. This night is the creation of it. I guess the only thing I would add in is we should have made our shooting schedule, unlock that down a little bit more. That would have helped us on the next few days by setting a timetable, like, these hours we're going to be shooting this scene, these hours we're going to be shooting that, and then making sure we stay in those time boxes. If we timed everything out better during our brainstorming session.
It kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying about forming a shot list as we were going, because to leave that all to the end when we were already like super tired and we just want to be done for the night, I think that was a little bit of a mistake that we'll work on next year.
Yeah, if we maybe like put a time frame and maybe gave us ourselves a limit of like by 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever, we're gonna have our script ready, and then we have to move on to other pre-production items, shot lists, scheduling, all those other things that we kind of just started at like after we're all pretty tired, and then didn't really put a lot of energy into, and that is what really hurt us on the next couple days. We didn't have those, we didn't put the forethought or the pre-production to create a smoother execution.
On the production side of things, yeah.
You know, curate a good team and plan, put the energy into that pre-production, and don't just jump into it. Have multiple cooks in the kitchen when you're in the writer's room, but make sure to facilitate that. But I think it's very powerful to have everyone's creativity heard, but having a dedicated writer for it. Someone that's like, okay, this person's actually going to take all these ideas and put them into a script. We can maybe do some touching up, revising, but there needs to be someone assigned to that. Otherwise, things will get kind of lost. And we got really lucky with Dustin, you know, just able to take all that we were talking about and put it into a script and giving us a really starting position. And then the other advice I would say is don't take your script too seriously. Be able to roll the punches, be flexible. And, you know, if your actor improvs about a line, don't dismiss it because that's not in the script. Take that creative feedback through your entire process and don't just end it after pre-production.
You're right. We definitely did get lucky with Dustin. It was kind of funny at the moment when David, because David along with Marguerite, but a lot of times David would be the person who would be writing, and it was funny at the moment when he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out there. I didn't write, like, not that I don't like the story, but I didn't write any of this. Dustin is just knocking it out of the park right now. That was our first time working with him as a writer, and that little stroke of luck was really incredible that worked out.
Yeah, Dustin, if you're watching this, we love you.
We do.
It was also a complex story to tell in such a short amount of time. I mean, if we had a 2-hour feature, we could have explored that friendship and those character arcs more thoroughly. But in 7 minutes, it's kind of like, all right, here's where they're at, here's where they need to be in montage.
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, there's things to learn, things to take away from it for sure.
It really amazed me, and I was taken aback by how well I felt we handled that first day. Even like we had our ideas lined up for each genre. We were able to jump into one of our stories immediately. Anyone who wants to get into this, who's watching this video, that's what I'd highly recommend, is look at all the genres that are available and come up with ideas for each of those. Obviously, you can't write a script, but you can at least have some ideas.
Yeah, I think it definitely helped us to have a base story to work within, in having that being flexible. Because then it was, you know, we were given all the details that we need. We had a general story we wanted to use, and then once we had those little things and genre and stuff figured out, then it was just like filling in the blanks and brainstorming. So having that guided, like, having creativity happens within boundaries, or at least in my experience. Like, once you have a box and you know your limitations, that's when you can be creative. And if you don't give yourself a box and you just look at a blank slate, it can be overwhelming and creatively detrimental. And I think that's probably a mistake that people might make, is not having any sort of roadmap or box to like get them started. And then it can be, you'll spend so much time in the weeds versus, okay, here's what we have to work with. Let's go for it.
Exactly. Going in this time, being very strict about only shooting at that one location.
I feel like there was also a lull in terms of like not just production side of things, but technical, I mean, but like as in team wise, you could feel that lull, like the transition between, okay, we've done our indoor shooting, now we're about to do our outdoor shooting. There was a lot of discussion. I feel like that was probably one of the most tense moments, if not the tense of the day, I would say. Others might have their own opinion on it, but it's kind of just pushing through, because that's going to happen a lot on the 48, I feel like, especially with people who haven't worked with each other before, and everyone wants to do a good job. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind. Like, most people are there because they're there for the integrity of the project, and they want to do a good job. And even though things can still get heated, trying to come to the best conclusion and compromise possible, and trusting other people's opinions, I think really went a long way. And I feel like the only way we got through that hurdle was just because we just kept moving. I don't know, that's kind of how it came off to me. Like, we just kept moving. It's like, okay, we can't talk about this anymore. There's only so much you can talk about. This, like, you just gotta keep moving and keep the morale going, and not just wait for people to kind of collect and I mean, of course, eat and drink and things like that. But in terms of morale, it's just like, as soon as we got outside and as soon as we got into our groove again, it came naturally from what I saw. And I know Paul unfortunately wasn't there with us outside. He got to work editing, which you can beautifully see in our short. But yeah, the morale came back after a while, and we got in our groove, and it just became like, to me, the nighttime portion of Saturday was like the spirit of 48. Like, kind of like when your college friends or whatever are just like, you've had a long night, and like all the sillies and like everything comes out, and you're just like, you know what? We're just gonna have fun with it, okay, guys? Like, come on. It was like that attitude the whole time. Like, it was really fun, and we're just like, you know what? Why not at that point? And we still were able to do some great stuff outside, I think, but after a while, it is kind of what it came. So it was like the night and day version of the 48 was very interesting.
Because I left. I was no longer part of it. That's why you guys started having fun.
Yeah, right.
I was the party boober holding you back.
That was my way of saying that. No, I'm kidding. No. You had to work.
Paul, you bring in some really great ideas. Yeah. Early on in the day, there's a lot of us all having the same idea, but for some reason not understanding that.
Just mime the whole scene.
Yeah, oh my God. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. When Paul was like, okay, now, like, what Andrew and I heard was, do the scene, but don't say any words and just mime it. And we're like, excuse me? To his credit, he was talking about someone not facing the camera, but still, we're like, what do you mean? But what he meant was mime the top of the scene, and so that it connected with the scene before it, and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh, but sorry, not to steal it from Andrew, but it was one of those things where we got so mad, not mad, but like so confused, and wasted probably 5 minutes just trying to understand what Paul meant. And it was just like a lot of moments like those that you can laugh at now, but it's just like, communication is so important. It really is, like making sure you are hearing each other, even if you're saying it a little bit differently. We're all smart at the end of the day.
And I think that's kind of, to go off of what Andrew was saying and like a lot of miscommunications where we're saying kind of the same things, and that's like an example of it, where we're not really saying the exact same thing, but we're not communicating exactly what we mean. We have very different ideas of what we're talking about, and then that's where we started to just kind of overlap. We're all saying, that's what I meant, but that's not how I conveyed it.
There was a couple moments like that. Just like one more thing to throw out about like the miming scene is like, I think both Marguerite, you and I both had the same mindset, like where we shot it the first time, and then it was like, well, if we're gonna do another one, like, I think we were on the same page about the confusion, but at the same time, like, the more, Paul, that you fought for it, the more that in our like, I think both of us were trying to rationalize it, and we're like, well, maybe he's onto something. Maybe he has some like genius idea. Like, I mean, he is the editor,
which is the mark of being respectful, like we were saying, and collaborative. We're like, we don't understand it, but Paul really believes it, and we have him on our team, and he is editing it. So let's just, honor what he wants. And thankfully, I mean, I guess that's a lesson learned right there, because in the end, you got to trust your team, and we did the right thing. We were trusting him, and it ended up being something we wanted anyway. So that's really funny.
Yeah, I think that's also just a testament to like that nobody's idea was shut down, even though you're like, that's incredibly dumb. And then it was like, oh, maybe that's not a good idea. But as I'm persistent with it, you're like, all right, well, if it's that important, let's try it. And even though it was just a miscommunication, but the idea that everyone was still open and working collaborative, even if it was like an idea that was a little unsure.
Yeah. One more scenario I just want to throw out because I thought it was kind of fun, of just a little bit of miscommunication, but once we were both on the same page, it was great, is Phil, our gaffer, and he did the incredible lighting on the film. There's this moment where he's like, okay, so do I need to move that because somebody's going to be standing there, right? And I'm like, yeah, but this person's standing here. Yes. And this person's standing here. Yes, you are correct. So then no one's standing here. No, that there is somebody standing there. Wait. But if David's there and the clown is there, I was like, oh, no, there's a third actor in this shot. And he's like, it was like, oh, it's like, but just those kind of fun moments that, if nothing else, they make for great memories. Just such a wonderful group of people.
Phil's going to be watching this and just rolling his eyes. That was dumb.
Phil's like, I didn't have fun the whole time. Just kidding. I know you had fun.
That wasn't a good memory.
No, my favorite Phil memory, hi Phil, my favorite Phil memory is when we were outside and we were just like maybe like an hour into our shoot, and Phil disappeared for a little bit, as he does, and all of a sudden he comes back. He goes, okay, so I have an assessment of everything outside. There's a plug over there, a plug down the street, a plug right there. And I'm like, whoa, he like had an entire like assessment of all the plugs and outlets in the area, all the electrical ports and everything. I was like, this guy is a gosh darn professional. Like, that was amazing to have that kind of intel, and him just like doing it on his own, just in case, to let us know like any potential locations. I thought that was incredible. I was like, that was my favorite. I was like, man, this guy really, like, where did he even go? I didn't even remember him leaving. He liked to pop in and out. So thank you, Phil. You're amazing. That was really funny.
You're the man, Phil.
Yeah.
Man, we had an incredible crew. I could not be more proud of the people that we were able to bring together, and cannot wait to work on more projects in the future.
Yeah, same.
Maybe this would be a good time to start talking about day 3, when things started going a little bit sideways.
Yeah, so day 3 was, we were coming off the high of day 2. I think to wrap into what we definitely could have done better next time was it's a thin line, because you want to enjoy the 48, but you also want to stay on task. And I think that we strayed a little too far in celebration on day 2, and we lost a lot of time. And I think if I really were looking back on things and how we did things, we went to bed way, way, way later than we should have, because we were just up having a good time, and it kind of slipped away from us a little bit. And it's like that thin line. It's like, yes, you want to put a fun on it, or have fun in it, but it's like you have to put a cap on everything in the 48. You have to put a cap on the amount of fun you have. You have to put a cap on the amount of dialogue and scenes and everything. This is kind of the time management part of it, even the fun part. I do think that we should have gone to bed way sooner on Saturday to prepare for day 3. This all leads into day 3. Something, again, time management wise, was... we woke up too late, and we all did. Like, we all straight up did. It's interesting how in day 3, a problem that we didn't realize was going to be a super big problem on day 1 trickled down into day 3, through day 2 and to day 3, which is why Friday night is so important, because it was the scenes and the complex story and the how long it was. It trickled something that we thought wasn't going to be that big of a problem, the amount of pages, trickled down into day 3, and all of a sudden Paul's like, yeah, this thing's like, what, 8-9 minutes long? And we're like, oh crap. So that set us back, having to edit that down. And then I also did not call, I can't think of his name, John, our sound designer, who, again, incredible job on the final film. So good. I'm so sad that I'm so sad he had to sit through, he came to the premiere and I was like, no, John, why? It was his first time at the premiere hearing what we submitted, by the way, Paul. John heard it for the first time.
Oh, no.
The time that I was there, I was sitting there, I was like, oh no, John, close your ears, don't listen.
It's okay.
He was in my car though, and I mean, the guy really took it with like a champ, and he really does want to keep working with us in the future. Really nice, incredible, talented guy.
Good, because it's not his fault. It's not his fault at all.
No, we threw way too much at John with way too little time. This dude is incredibly talented, and his attention to detail blew my mind. I heard all the little things he added from in Foley, from like just an apple hitting the hand.
Yeah.
I really appreciated his attention to detail. Unfortunately, our initial run through, we did not give him the time he needed to be able to bring it to the level we wanted it to be.
Yeah, so definitely having him in there way earlier, way sooner. I don't know even what I was thinking. I think we were all just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like the whole day was just like not calm and cool and collected, at least not on my end. And I definitely fumbled that. And like, that's one thing I would have done earlier was tell John to come way sooner and be able to finish it up. Cause it was a nail biter. Someone else can take the floor on this part, but we were literally 4 minutes within time. 4 minutes.
In our defense, now after talking to some of the other groups, what we did, to our credit, we did take the first day for pre-production, the second day for production, and the third day for editing. Many people were still shooting half the day on Sunday and then somehow still got the edit out. I don't know, like, especially there is that one, the one horror short film, Marguerite, you know, the one I'm talking about, where I truthfully have no clue how they were able to get what they did in the amount of time that they had.
Was it the first place winner?
Well, that one as well, but looking at...
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The horror short, it was just...
that's third place. I think that was third place.
No, that would have actually been fifth place, and I have no clue how... they got best horror, but ours was actually shown after that one, and I honestly don't know how that was, because I thought the story was great, the cinematography, there were just so many shots and so much thought put into that one. But and then even some of the ones that played after ours, like the moment when I was like, they got a horse.
Yeah. They got a horse.
Did they make Horse Camp 4?
Yes.
Speaking about that, I'm just going to throw out this point. Next year when we do this, I really think we should shoot this at the same place that we shot Horse Camp. I want to reach out to them, because then
it'll be like summer camp.
Because then, Paul, you can edit in that room, like where you edited. We can all stay right there. So it would be like summer camp. Like we can all just camp out there. We don't have to go home. We can get up in the morning like we did on Horse Camp and just go at it and just take those 3 days. I think like doing it on a campground probably would be our best bet.
Yeah, so I agree. That would help a lot of the timing issues as well, and keeping each other accountable. But yeah, I agree. I think it was the factory that you're talking about was incredible. So shout out to the factory and that whole team. It did blow my mind too. It was a very good horror film. But yeah, on your point of just the fact that we did, to our credit, time things right, and every team, and that's the thing, it's like you can hear how we did ours, and it's valuable, but at the end of the day, it's kind of depends on what the project is and the people you're working with. What for maybe other people it worked to film on the day of because maybe they already had edited the whole thing on Saturday and it worked. But in our case, that just wasn't the case. So it's just different. What kind of strategy you want to use? You hear a lot of different people's and see what works for you. Personally, next time, we'll probably have just more edited on Saturday, I think, and more on Sunday, this like earlier day. And I think that's really it. I thought we did everything right. And I think we are hard on ourselves because when you look at Rich and Zappy, you can see like everything's there. And I think we felt like it was a mess because we were very hard on ourselves. And at the time, it did feel like a mess. It did, to me, feel like, a failure. Like how could they possibly even like this? This is craziness. At the end of the day, though, like the only thing that was really off was the sound. I think that's incredible. For our first time, for that to be the only thing that was really off. I mean, of course, there's like things in the editing that could be better and like tweaked and like, so I don't know, like as much as I like to talk it down and it cringes to watch that version, I do have to remind myself that it wasn't a total failure. We really did complete a project. Like we did a good job. That's just my takeaway.
And we got nominated for Best Film.
We did!
And we only submitted an incomplete film. I wonder what difference it would have made if we had submitted our final draft. I'm very curious if that would have made a difference or if it still kind of would have landed where it did.
I think we would have gotten a bigger contender, maybe like moved up a little bit. No shade or anything to the other winners, but I think we would have maybe broke at least third, second place. No, not gonna lie. I like to think so at least. I don't know. But I'd like to think that because you're right, it was an honor. Like we did not, like we were like, I am really proud of us for still being supportive and proud of our film, even though Andrew and I know, and Paul, the product of what we did, we were still like, no, we made a thing. We're proud of it. It didn't go the way we thought, but whatever. And then for that good spirit and the humbleness and like being proud and like also confidence to be rewarded with 9 nominations, including 1 Best Film, it was like, oh, that just felt really good. It's like, oh, good. You want to root for the underdog. You don't want to just root for something because you think it's really good. You want to be proud of your work even if you messed up, Mm-hmm. So.
Absolutely. Very well put, Marguerite. So many just happy accidents. I mean, in some ways they're not even accidents. It's when you have a great team, like each person just has input that others just might not have had. I think that on day 3, like just the fact that Paul, you were able to find that coffee shop.
Yeah.
That I felt like that was an incredible place for us to be able to work and just feel comfortable, and that was a big triumph. I'm glad that you were able to find that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry it didn't work out at our original plan.
Yeah.
Editing location.
It took me a little bit of navigating to find that place because I originally went to the place you guys had recommended. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is in the heart of downtown. Yeah. I don't know where to park. And then I checked out a couple different other places and I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm going to find something way out of the city and like wasting like probably 90 minutes because of all this like searching for a place to work from. But yeah, I picked a place outside the city. I went for it, worked out nicely. Once I was able to settle in and get started.
Yeah, for the Metro Detroiters, I told him to go to the Rensen, the Marriott, or anywhere in the Rensen. And Paul's from Lansing, correct?
Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids area. So I told him to go to Rensen, which I know we already kind of went over for like advice for first timers, but The RenCen is a very, very, very good resource, but it does require, especially for people, I didn't even think about that, people who are not familiar with the area, like, it is a craziness, so you do have to tell people where to park, so I'm sorry about that, Paul. But I do recommend the RenCen. They are highly collaborative and open to use there. Especially in my experience. I don't know, I was actually crossing my fingers because I was literally texting Paul in bed like, oh God, I hope he figures it out because I am like wiped. And I was like, we were all groggy, just waking up. I was like, oh God, he has no idea where to go. I have to like look up some places really quick. So definitely with planning, and I didn't know if like with COVID, if it would be open or not anyway. So you did a good job taking matters into your own hands. More advice for first timers I would give is just like making sure you do have a set place just like for editing and a set place for a set place for editing and a set place, like a quiet like place that you can rely on, and making sure that you're there with the editor from the beginning, because I know Paul probably wanted to like have some alone time as well with editing, and that's perfectly fine, but I feel like if we had been there, at least there, it could have sped some things up also. Maybe not over his shoulder, but also working on other things. So that would be another thing as well.
Yeah, I think when it comes to editing, like, the editor needs some time alone to get it to a place where it can have collaboration, because there's a big chunk of it that's just stitching everything together and putting it in a viewable format. And that really just takes focus, and like, that I don't think needs to be collaborative. Like once that's like, it's like getting your base down, and then you can start to have feedback. But yeah, an editor on your team is going to just need that like space to get the ground laid out, and then can bring in the team. So I think having that space is important.
Paul, since you actually know the grounds, it might even not specifically be that one, but what would you think about if we were to shoot next year's on a campground where like you would just have your space to edit, we could just shoot wherever on the grounds, and then also there's no driving, so it cuts down on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of it puts us in a box for creatively, because whatever theme we get, we have to make it work on a campsite. So whatever location we pre-decide, it coming back to putting ourselves in a creative box and then making that work for whatever concept we come up with. So I think that is helpful rather than picking a location after you find out all your elements. But, there is also, risk to that. If we get this idea or a genre that is like, how are we going to do that in a campsite?
That would be the risk, yeah. We kind of thought that would be the risk of even thinking about, I know you two already kind of talked about this earlier, but kind of going in with an idea of just a clown and a guy. Like, Andrew pitched it to me at first, and through development, he pitched it more, and I was like, wow, that's such a really good idea, and that could be translated to many different things. So I guess I wanted to, like, now that we went through, like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, do you think, Andrew and Paul, if there's anything that could have been done prior to the 48? Because let's be honest, like, prior to the 48 is just as important as the 48. When you're getting your team together, you're getting a plan together. How much do you put in script? How much do you not? Do you think, Paul, that it was a good idea, honestly, that Andrew and I just had a skeleton of an idea? Like, I'm really interested to hear what you two have to think about, like, even prior to the 48, that kind of planning process.
So was the clown not a requirement by the 48?
No, and I know you said that at one point, and it wasn't. We thought of the clown. Yeah.
I thought you guys had got a clown because it was a requirement that we have a clown in it.
No, that was just our Andrew's whimsical idea.
Partially became a requirement just for the reason of, like, we're like, okay, whatever we get, we're going to kind of write it around, whether it be horror, whatever genre we get. We got this clown. We already like paid for the costume and kind of talked about, like, if nothing else, at least we have something. Like, we have the makeup artist and all the practical assets to be able to accomplish this. So we kind of were stuck with that, and it to our benefit, but we kind of like got married to that concept before the 48 because we at least wanted something.
Yeah, it's like a pro and a con, like you were saying with the campground. It could potentially write you into a corner, but maybe that's a good thing because it can put you ahead. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you think.
Yeah, I would say I go a little bit back and forth on that. I thought we were required by the 48 to create a clown in the concept. I think we may have had more liberty or more ideas that we could have worked with if we were able to take that in or out of the story. But also at the same time, there is a benefit of giving yourself those parameters, and also makes your production look a little more polished because you came prepared with something rather than trying to come up with all of that on the spot. So yeah, I think it's like there's two sides to it. So I kind of go back and forth on that.
Yeah.
I definitely would agree that is a double-edged sword, and I thought about that going in. The reason why I felt at least somewhat safe with it is because we discussed it, and going through the genres, we were able to incorporate in so many of the genres that we felt safe that we could make it work. No matter what we were dealt. But I think out of anything we could have been dealt, to be able to get buddy film was
lucky.
Beyond the best case scenario.
Way lucky. Yeah, we definitely lucked out with that one. So maybe that's a good takeaway too. It's not bad to be ahead, but maybe even better than a clown strategically, but an idea that is so able to be workable in other ways. To me, it seems like there is a pretty good strategy, but I do agree that maybe having the story so strict about maybe not a clown, but maybe just more broad character descriptions could have helped us more.
Yeah, maybe like a middle ground would be like having things prepared like that, but not necessarily being married to them, and being like, gives us a head start if it works, but if it doesn't work or we can do something better without it, being able to like detach from those preconceived ideas, and especially when collaborating with other people, and like if someone comes up with this great idea but it doesn't really fit the narrative you had kind of established beforehand, then having that flexibility to be like, you know what, we did put money and time into this pre-production plan, but we really believe that this idea is going to take us farther.
That's fair.
And I think if everyone hated the idea when we were in the pitch process as well, we probably wouldn't have pushed forward with it, because it was so quick that people just started throwing out ideas and find ways to make it work.
I think it worked out for this particular project for sure. I'm just like, as a general rule, like having those preparations, but not completely blocking yourself from doing something better if it doesn't work out. But I also think it is a great starting point, because if you were just to get the props and stuff and the line of dialogue, your slate is a little more blank, and then it's like, oh, where do we begin? But when you have like a clown, and like, all right, we're gonna have a clown character, now it gives you more of a starting point, and then we're able to develop ideas around that. So yeah, I think parameters are, coming back to our previous statement, they could help you or they can hurt you. In this case, I think it really helps spark that creativity, and people really can push the envelope once they know where that box is and you establish it, and then it's like finding the best in that, and that can most times I think yields better results than starting with something more blank.
Yeah, watching through the films, as I said before, I'm proud that we tried to go with what was a relatively simple idea for this one, but I think that there is certain areas that next year we could definitely push more maybe getting more shots, having a faster rhythm, because that was a big thing that I noticed with just how much story they were able to pour into the 7 minutes, because the winner was a period piece, and like the locations that people were able to find. Looking at what these other people did and learning from this experience and using that as a building block for what we do in the future.
So when I went through with my first 48-hour film challenge, what stood out to me the most is I saw one film that I thought for sure was going to win. The cinematography was so professional. And they nailed it on a technical end. And I guess my takeaway is, don't focus so much on the technical end. Don't focus on the cinematography and all. Those are important, and obviously do your best with that, but those aren't really the things that the judges are looking for or looking at. It's really just the creative use of how you've integrated everything into your story. So with ours, we ended up winning the best film, and there was like terrible audio issues. Like the noise floor was so high on like this scene, and it's like, we were amateurs. We did the best we could and in the time that we had, but all of us were pretty new to filmmaking. But we also had that collaborative spirit when we first wrote the project. All of us came together and we did that same whole brainstorming and coming up with ideas and then putting it into something and taking the skill sets of different people on our team. For us, what I think was a very distinguishing factor is that we had this artist on our team that was able to recreate the school's mascot. They have this massive statue in front of their school, and she recreated it in a miniature clay version that we were able to use as our prop, because the mascot of their school was their prop for that 48. When we didn't win Best Prop, because I thought, we've got Best Prop. We knocked it out of the park, and then we didn't win Best Prop, and I was like, well, I guess that's over. And then we got called for Best in Show, and I was astonished, because the other projects were just so much better on a technical and in my opinion, some of the creativity too. But I guess, to kind of close this thought is that don't focus on the technical stuff. Really, the judges are looking more at the creativity and the use of the different parameters they've given you.
That's a really good point. I can't agree more. That was also my takeaway. Even though the first one did also do really well, this year that won first place technically really well. It's funny because I did enjoy some other ones that were like technically astonishing, but then you did watch the first place, second place, third place, and even ours, and there's like potent storytelling, and there was heart and emotion, and I was like, okay, I see, this makes a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what you have to do with the 48. It makes sense. You can't rely on the most technical savvy, because what if the people who are really good, actually technically savvy people, but in the 48, they just don't know how to execute that. There were a lot of things where I felt like I had to tell people, I was like, okay, this isn't normally our normal work. It's just a 48, So it's like I had to like excuse everything, but that's like kind of the spirit of it, right? It's like it can't be the most technically savvy thing. It just has to be the most compelling story, and that was definitely my takeaway, because at the end of the day, like that's why people watch film. That's kind of what I thought the judges were after. So, and our film could have, and I think that's why we did win Best Film and Best Writing and things like that, because they saw that their heart was there, they saw that the story was there, but I don't think they could have ever considered us because it was so so glaringly unfinished. It wasn't just bad audio. It was like or whatever. It was just like so clearly unfinished, and I totally respect and understand that. But I think that is why we ended up getting so many awards, is because they saw the heart in it. And that's the only reason I can think of that they would have given us so many nominations to begin with.
Yeah, I was very happy to see that even though we weren't able to finish the film, that we were still able to do so well and get so many nominations for the work that we did.
I think that's a great point, Paul. can you tell us where people at home can find you, please?
Yeah, so my social media handles are Paul Matthew Media. My website is paulmatthewmedia.com, and all but my YouTube, because I don't have enough subscribers to get a nice custom domain. So, well, interestingly enough, I made my YouTube like in 2008. And back then they had different requirements for a custom URL. So I made, like, at the time I was going by Paul Studios, and now I don't have enough subscribers to change the name. So my YouTube handle is Paul Studios.
Nice. All right.
So help me out and give me a subscribe.
Yes, give him a like and a subscribe.
Help me change the name.
Oh, follow him on Instagram too. He's got a great Instagram, I'll say. He's just overall a great guy. So thank you so much, Paul. Seriously, for like joining us here and also on the 48, driving out everything and believing in us was really, really cool. Believing in Andrew mostly, but also me now. So thank you.
It was an absolute honor. Thank you guys so much for having me, inviting me into this project. It was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with everyone. Everyone was so great to work with. Made some great connections there, and yeah, just honored to be part of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Hopefully you'll join us next year, or whoever will join us next year. We're really excited, and just kind of wrap everything up. I had a really good time, and if anything, everything that went wrong this year, especially since we ended up learning so much from it, only makes me way more excited, and Andrew as well, to tackle this again next year. I mean, we have an arsenal now. It feels like, okay, like we're ready. Like, so much that we've been through with it. You just can't help but hope for the best for next time. So that's what we're gonna do. And if you ever want to reach out to us, you can at any time. You can reach out to us on, send us some comment on YouTube or on below in this video. We'll also be linking all of the kind of time coding a little bit, everything. You'll see that in the description below as well. So you can kind of skip around to different topics if you want at any time. Leave us a comment. We love answering questions you might have. Also, you can email us at stargazerdigitalmedia.com if you have anything that you would like to be a part of on our crew or anything like that. Find us on Facebook, Stargazer Digital Media, Instagram, same thing. I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in this episode of StarCast. One more big thank you to Paul for joining us, and that's it for now. Take care, everyone.